What's up, War Rapport family? We are back again live from day one of SEC Media Days. I've got Auburn legend Cole Cubelic here with me to talk a little Auburn football. But before we get into Auburn football, let's talk about day one. We heard from Brian Kelly, and he's going into his third year as head coach at LSU. What did you hear from Brian today that gave you the indication of what is LSU going to be this year?
Yeah, I think confidence really more than anything. Tinkered with his staff a little bit. I think if he had his way, probably wanted to keep Denbrock, knew he was going to make a change at defensive coordinator, but he upgrades with defensive line coach, upgrades at defensive coordinator. Blake Baker comes in, Bo Davis comes in. I think that's going to help. But the problem is still 3 of your best 4 players on defense are gone from last year.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a good defense last year. But you do bring somebody back that can dominate that side of the football. I think he knows that. But I think he realizes he'll be able to lean on that offense. That offensive line is going to be really good. A quarterback with experience, has been around that football team, that program. Still really talented at receiver, running back, tight end. So I think he feels like he's got a chance to put a pretty good football season together.
How much of an upgrade is the defensive coordinator change? I mean, they were all-time bad last year. I would argue, Cole, with an average defense, LSU probably makes the playoff with how good they were on offense. Like, is this a significant upgrade on defense?
I think it can be. I don't know if it will be year one, just because you're not going to have the defensive line that you had last year. You had a couple game wreckers last year. Jordan Jefferson played really well. Mason Smith at times played really well. I just don't think you're going to be that. They had 2 scholarship D tackles during spring. So until they get better personnel, I don't know if you can be looking at an elite defense. But I do think they might have the chance to put together a run game that's going to aid that defense and be able to assist that defense. So I think when you look across the league, there's not a lot of dominant defensive lines in the league right now. We're void of defensive tackles and dominant defensive tackles comparatively to what we've seen in the past. So that could lean into sort of what LSU wants to be as a football team.
Cole, I got a chance to ask Lane Kiffin about Jackson Dart. He returns off a 3,300-yard season, only 5 interceptions last year. He said that if the new NCAA football game had a leadership rating, Jackson Dart would be a 99. So he's happy with where he's at from a leadership standpoint. You know, what do you see from Jackson Dart this year? What are you expecting? Is he a top 3 quarterback in the SEC in 2024?
Good chance he is. I think I would have him in my top 3 going into the season. Carson Beck's clear number 1. You're going to talk about Quinn Ewers. You're going to talk about Jalen Milroe. Think about the step that Brady Cook took last year. If he were to take a similar step or even half that step, a quarter of that step this year, he might be in that mix. Some good quarterbacks coming back in the league and some young ones we haven't seen a ton of that we have a lot of confidence in, like Nico Iamaleava, Connor Wigman at Texas A&M. But for me, I'll take Jackson Dart over most guys in this league. Yeah, because number 1, I don't think he's a system quarterback, but I think he has a system that allows him to put up good numbers. And 2, he's a gamer, man. Like, go back 2 years ago, he was their short yardage back.
Yeah.
Literally, 3rd and 1. I mean, y'all saw that game at Auburn where he had to carry the ball in short yardage situations a couple times. He was able to grind out some yards, get it done, move the chains, close the game out. So I just don't think he's somebody on the run. If he's on the move, he can be accurate and stay complete. He's tough. Go to the Georgia game last year, put that tape on. He got destroyed in that game.
Yeah.
Stayed upright for most of it, kept battling back. So top 3, yeah, I'll take Jackson Dart in my top 3 for sure.
Let's stick with quarterback here, but jump to Auburn. Payton Thorne returns as a second-year starter at Auburn. He, unlike Jackson Dart, was at the bottom of the league in terms of passing yards last year. Auburn ran a lot of 12 personnel last year. When I sat down with Coach Freeze, he said we have a chance to see more 11 and 10 personnel. They've got Cam Coleman. They've got DeAndre Lambert-Smith from Penn State. How much do you think that the receiver upgrade around Payton Thorne will help him increase his production in the SEC?
A lot. And I think there are a lot of people that have obsessed about Hughes should have made the move to get a different quarterback, or just Payton Thorne can't really improve.
Yeah.
You're only as good as a quarterback as the pieces around you. I mean, you have to have an offensive line that can protect you and open up holes. You have to have receivers that can attack the football. You have to have receivers that can separate. Auburn didn't have that last year. I think there's a chance outside of tight end, just receiving group, you're looking at 4, maybe 5 guys that are going to come in and be better than anything Auburn had last year.
Wow.
You get a slot receiver that's a legitimate catch and run threat out of Georgia State. You mentioned
Robert Lewis.
Cam Coleman, who could be a legitimate down the field 50-50 ball nightmare. Keandre Lambert-Smith, the reason I like him is he's like B+ across the board. Like, there are no real voids in his game. Now, he might not be super dynamic run past you, or he might not be able to, go up and out rebound you on every 50-50 ball, but he's just steady, kind of B+ A- across
Good route
the
runner.
board. He's a good, solid route runner. Again, I think he's better than the option Auburn had last year. So if you change the way that receivers can separate, how they can aid you in maybe a non-perfect throw being okay, and all of a sudden that's a 2nd and 4 instead of a 2nd and 14, you're playing a totally different game.
Well, what can Payton Thorne do different that's within his control? I mean, at times he had some baffling pick sixes at times last year where maybe he threw a ball to the flat and it just had nothing on it and it got
I think
taken out.
It's comfort level and finding his calm. He's just got to be a little bit more calm in the pocket, and I think confidence brings that. So year 2 at Auburn in the SEC, understanding what comes with it, the distractions that are going to be there, the communication, Hugh Freeze, the offense, even though it's going to be a little bit different, the verbiage is not going to be totally different. So all of that should allow him to calm down and find a little bit more confidence. And let's be real, if you're throwing to last year's receivers or this year's receivers, who are you more confident with? This year's receivers. I think the middle of the offensive line's got a chance to be pretty good.
Okay.
And if that's the case, with the most proven running back in the league returning that nobody here is talking about, by the way, you got a chance to be able to move and plus he showed at the end of last year that he can get the job done with his legs. Now you're not building the offense on his legs, but if you don't defend it, he'll make you pay, and you'll be living in 2nd and 2, or you'll be living 2nd and 4, which is a pretty good place to be. So I just think there are multiple aspects to his game that can take a little bit of a step with what's going to be built around him. The good football is in there. I've seen it. I've watched the Michigan State film. I've seen him do good things. And with confidence and some guys that can help him a little bit more, I think he can go find that.
Yeah, Auburn did not do well on offense last year. So I know that Hugh Freeze has got a lot of things that he wants to improve. He said Payton Thorne had the lowest pass attempts of any quarterback he's ever coached his whole career. And he indicated that was for lack of faith in the pass catchers. So for Payton Thorne, in year 2 of this thing, him upgrading his game is going to have a lot to do with Hugh Freeze moving the needle towards what he wants to put on display for everybody to see, to say, hey, come to Auburn, we throw it, we pass it, we're going to run offense at a high level. I want to end on expectations for this year. Auburn starts the year off with 5 straight home games. You've got Cal, game 2, they come to Jordan this year. Arkansas, they open SEC play with Arkansas, the 4th game of the year. And then you got Oklahoma coming to the Plains for the first time in the history of college football. After that, you don't play a road game at home for a month.
Yeah.
But you've got Georgia, Missouri, and Kentucky in that stretch. What does Auburn have to do to hit the over, which is at 8 wins this year?
I think Payton Thorne has to protect the football. The run game has to go. You run the football, and then all of a sudden the legs of Payton Thorne are going to open things up in the intermediate passing game. You run the football well, you're going to get one-on-ones on the outside, which is going to give you shot plays, which is what Hugh wants to find. He's going to get his shots in. You find shot plays now with these receivers, that's going to turn into explosive plays. You also have a couple more players this year that can take high percentage throws and hopefully turn those into explosive plays. Those things happen. It's all a chain of events. So I really think running the football and him protecting the football, that's key. Don't give the ball back. And when you run the football, you're going to move the chains, maintain possession, put yourself in scoring position, win field position. I'll be honest, I have more concerns about the defense than the offense.
Yeah.
So, I just think that there is a way for good things to happen across the board offensively. And that doesn't mean that Payton Thorne is, all of a sudden Kyler Murray or Jaden Daniels. He can be B+ and Auburn take a pretty big step offensively.
Well, we know that Hugh Freeze thinks upgrade the pieces around Payton Thorne. You see a better Payton Thorne throughout his career. He's been a low 60s percentage passer. He was that guy last year, just minus the top end pass attempts. So we'll see kind of where they end up there. Cole, I want to thank you for joining me on today's segment, brought to you by Vintage 2298 Restaurant and Butcher Shop in Auburn, Alabama. If you're in the Auburn area and you're looking for some good eats, go see our guy Randall Baldwin over there at 2298 East University in Auburn, Alabama. Guys, we're out. And as always, War Eagle.